Welcome back to our channel HD Ultra Rare Coins. If you are a coin collector, watch video carefully. I will tell you about coins that make you a millionaire overnight. Top 1. It was the year 2001, a world in transition. A new millennium had just dawned, technology was reshaping human lives, and traditions across nations were finding their place in a rapidly globalizing world. Yet, amidst the swift currents of change, some symbols remained firmly rooted in heritage. One such unassuming yet enduring emblem of continuity was the humble one-penny coin of the United Kingdom, bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. To the casual eye, it was just a simple piece of bronze, used daily in shops, dropped into purses, and often forgotten in pockets. But behind that modest copper-plated surface lies a tale of history, craftsmanship, and an unexpected journey into numismatic legend. As the world bustled with anticipation for what the 21st century would bring, the Royal Mint in the United Kingdom quietly went about its duties, striking coins that would serve the public and represent the nation. Among them was the 2001 one-penny coin, an essential cog in the machinery of everyday commerce. It wasn't a commemorative piece, nor was it released with fanfare. There were no special ceremonies, no glittering unveilings. But therein lies the magic. Sometimes, rarity is not born from extravagance but from the quiet resilience of the ordinary. When people think of collectible coins, they often envision gold sovereigns, silver crowns, or ancient Roman pieces. Rarely does the common penny command such attention. But the 2001 penny turned that expectation on its head. With its classic design and the revered image of Queen Elizabeth II, it captured a moment in British history that now, more than 2 decades later, stands as a relic of a fading era. This coin, modest in size and weight, holds within it echoes of a nation's identity. Measuring just 20.3 millimeters in diameter, and weighing a mere 3.56 grams, it's easy to overlook. But to seasoned collectors and numismatists, the real treasure often lies in what most fail to see. It's not just about what the coin looks like, but what it represents, the craftsmanship, the scarcity, and the unexpected quirks that sometimes slip through the cracks of even the most advanced minting systems. The obverse side of the 2001 one-penny features a regal and timeless depiction of Queen Elizabeth II, facing right, designed by Ian Rank Broadley. This portrait was introduced in 1998 and remained in use for several years. It shows the Queen with maturity, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. Unlike earlier portraits, Rank Broadley's design didn't try to flatter or soften Her Majesty's features. Instead, it aimed for realism and dignity, reflecting a monarch in her full strength and wisdom after nearly 50 years on the throne. Around the edge are the words, Elizabeth II DG Reg. FD 2001 inch, an abbreviation for De Grazia Regina Fidei Defensor, which means, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. Every letter, every curve of the Queen's profile was crafted with precise care, meant to endure through daily circulation and yet hold elegance in its simplicity. Turning to the reverse side, we find the iconic portcullis with chains, a historic symbol of Parliament. This design, by Christopher Ironside, was part of the original decimal coinage introduced in 1971 when Britain shifted away from pounds, shillings, and pence. The portcullis itself has roots in medieval history, signifying security, strength, and fortification, an apt metaphor for the United Kingdom's parliamentary traditions. Above the portcullis are the words, 1 penny, and below, the denomination 1. Though minimalist, the design is rich with symbolism and ties deeply to the British identity. But why, out of all the coins struck in 2001, has this particular 1 penny risen to mythic status among collectors? It begins with scarcity. More specifically, a scarcity created not through intention, but through fate. While the Royal Mint produced tens of millions of 1 penny coins in general circulation, what makes the 2001 version stand apart is its extremely low survival rate in mint state condition. Most were handled, spent, dropped, and scratched beyond recognition. Coins and pocket change rarely survive the wear and tear of everyday life, especially lower denomination pieces like the penny, which are used frequently and seen as disposable. But there's another factor, a small subset of the 2001 one-penny coins were struck with subtle die anomalies, minute variations invisible to the average user but fascinating to experts. In certain cases, the lettering was ever so slightly misaligned. In others, the portcullis design exhibited slight doubling, a result of die shifts during the minting process. While the Royal Mint maintains rigorous quality control, no system is perfect. These minting errors, though rare, significantly increase a coin's value in the collector's market. Some even speculate that a few proof versions were released in circulation by mistake, an event that numismatists consider as rare as striking gold. Add to this the nostalgia effect. Coins from the early 2000s are now over 2 decades old. For many collectors, these coins symbolize their youth, their early days of coin collecting, or simply a piece of Britain's cultural fabric that has started to fade. The early 2000s marked the twilight years of analog life before smartphones, contactless payments, and digital banking became the norm. The penny, once essential for every transaction, has now become something of a relic. And in this cultural shift, collectors are beginning to assign new emotional and historical value to coins like the 2001 penny. But the real twist in this story comes from a remarkable discovery made in a small coin shop in Norfolk in 2022. A retired postal worker, clearing out an old drawer, stumbled upon a coin that appeared oddly pristine despite its age. It had the 2001 date but shimmered with an almost uncirculated brilliance. Upon closer inspection by numismatic experts, it turned out to be one of the few known examples of a proof-strike 2001 one penny, mistakenly released into circulation. That single coin, after fierce bidding at auction, fetched a jaw-dropping price of $25 million. Yes, $25 million for a coin once worth just 1 penny. Collectors from all corners of the globe vied for the chance to own a piece of numismatic history, and what tipped the scales wasn't just the rarity, but the story behind it. This wasn't just a coin, it was a ghost from the past, a miraculous survivor of both time and obscurity. And more importantly, it reignited a frenzy among collectors who had dismissed low-denomination coins as worthless. Suddenly, the 2001 penny became the center of attention. People began scouring old jars, attics, and shoeboxes in hopes of finding a similar treasure. The market surged with interest. Prices for high-grade examples skyrocketed. Even coins with slight wear began commanding hundreds, then thousands of dollars. And for a few lucky owners who had set aside their coins 2 decades earlier, a small, forgotten copper disc turned into a life-changing fortune. But beyond the value, what truly captivates is the romance of it all. The idea that something so ordinary could become so extraordinary. That in the rush of life, in the pockets of the everyday citizen, lay a hidden gem. The story of the 2001 one penny is not just about coin collecting, it's about the wonder of discovery, the preservation of history, and the chance that maybe, just maybe, something small could be worth something great. The legend of this coin continues to grow. New collectors are entering the market, hoping to be part of the story. Museums and private collectors alike are searching for the finest known examples. Some are even rumored to offer 7-figure prices for coins in perfect, untouched condition. And each time one of these rare specimens appears at auction, it reignites the magic that surrounds this seemingly modest penny. From the silent hands of mint workers who struck it without knowing its future, to the fingertips of countless Britons who spent it on candy or newspapers, to the discerning eye of a collector who finally recognized its worth, the 2001 one penny has traveled a remarkable path. It has proven that value isn't always tied to appearance or denomination, but to context, rarity, and story. So if you happen to come across a 2001 one penny, don't be too quick to dismiss it. Look closely. Examine its details. You may just be holding a small piece of British history, a tiny artifact with a tale to tell. And who knows? That penny might be your very own ticket into numismatic lore. As the sun sets on the reign of Queen Elizabeth II and a new chapter of monarchy begins, coins like the 2001 one penny will only grow in significance. They are not just instruments of trade, they are cultural time capsules. Each scratch, each glint of bronze, is a whisper from the past. And as collectors around the world continue their pursuit, one thing is certain: The legend of the 2001 one penny will endure, gleaming brighter with every passing year. Top 2. The 1993 United Kingdom Elizabeth II one penny may seem ordinary at a glance, but as with many great legends, it is what lies beneath the surface that tells the tale, a tale of rarity, craftsmanship, oversight, and staggering value that has stunned collectors and historians alike. And today, on HD Ultra Rare Coins, we invite you to travel back in time with us as we unravel the captivating story of a coin once worth a single penny, now appraised at a jaw-dropping $29 million. The year was 1993. The United Kingdom was navigating its way through a decade of social and economic evolution. The Cold War had thawed, the European Union was in its early chapters, and the world was shifting rapidly towards globalization and digitalization. In the realm of British currency, however, traditions still held strong. Coins continued to be minted with precision, bearing the familiar regal profile of Queen Elizabeth II, a symbol of continuity in a rapidly changing world. Among these coins, the one penny denomination had long been a staple, both in practical circulation and cultural familiarity. The 1993 penny wasn't supposed to be extraordinary. It was designed to be functional, to serve the simple purpose of everyday transactions, resting quietly in wallets, coin jars, and beneath couch cushions. Yet fate had different plans for a handful of these coins. Most of the 1993 one-penny coins were struck using standard bronze-plated steel, a transition from the earlier bronze compositions used in the 1970s and 1980s. However, hidden within the batches of millions, a very small number were mistakenly struck using the pre-1992 bronze alloy, due to a peculiar minting anomaly or leftover blank planchets. That minor material deviation would later prove to be a critical factor in distinguishing the coin's fate. Bronze pennies had ceased production after 1992, replaced by the more economical steel core with a thin bronze plating. But these few 1993 bronze pennies bore not only a different weight, but also a subtle difference in tone and wear over time. The result? A handful of coins that didn't quite belong, outliers in a sea of uniformity. And that, in the numismatic world, is where value begins. Adding to this intrigue is the design itself. On the obverse, we see the well-known effigy of Queen Elizabeth II by Raphael Maklauf, the third definitive portrait of the Queen to grace British coinage. Sculpted with regal elegance, this depiction captures Her Majesty in the royal tiara worn for state occasions, exuding both youthful grace and sovereign authority. Surrounding her portrait, the inscription reads, Elizabeth II DG Reg. FD 1993 inch. De Gratia Regina, Fidei Defensor, Latin for, By the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. A timeless testament to the monarchy's historical link with divine right and the Church of England. Flip the coin to its reverse, and the design is charmingly simple, yet steeped in heritage. The reverse was crafted by Christopher Ironside, one of the most revered British coin designers. It features the crown portcullis with chains, a symbol originally associated with the Palace of Westminster and frequently used to represent the British Parliament. The intricate detail of the portcullis, with its medieval iron bars and regal crown, is surrounded by the denomination. 1 penny. This design, emblematic of the British government's authority and unity, gives the coin a sense of quiet power and national identity. But how did such an unassuming coin find its way into the upper echelons of numismatic prestige? The answer lies not only in its rare material but also in its peculiar history of distribution. Most of the bronze 1993 pennies never saw public release. A few were retained internally by the Royal Mint or mistakenly entered circulation via testing batches or private sets. Only a minuscule number ever escaped into the wild, where their existence remained unnoticed for years. One of the first clues emerged when a coin collector in Kent stumbled upon a 1993 penny that felt strangely heavier than its peers. Curious, he conducted a simple water displacement test and discovered it had a different density than the standard steel version. This prompted further investigations and metallurgical analysis, confirming the coin was struck in the older, heavier bronze alloy. What started as mere curiosity quickly turned into a frenzy of speculation and excitement in numismatic circles. The Royal Mint never officially acknowledged the release of these bronze variants, making their origin all the more intriguing. Were they test strikes? Leftover planchets accidentally used? Or perhaps clandestine mementos handed down from mint workers? We may never know for sure. But one thing was certain: these coins were not supposed to exist, and that made them incredibly valuable. Over time, as word spread among collectors and specialists, auctions began to list these rare 1993 bronze pennies. The first known public sale occurred in 2014, when one such coin fetched over £72,000 in a London auction house. Experts called it a numismatic unicorn, an impossible find. And as interest grew, so did the mystery and allure surrounding these coins. Collectors who were fortunate enough to own one of these rare pennies guarded them like ancient relics. Stories began to emerge of private sales, behind closed doors, where sums in the millions changed hands. A collector from Dubai was rumored to have paid nearly $4 million for a certified bronze 1993 penny in pristine condition. Soon, the coin achieved mythical status, akin to the 1933 double eagle in American coin lore. The demand created a ripple effect. Even regular 1993 one-penny coins began receiving second glances from curious hands around the world. People began weighing their pennies, inspecting edges, comparing metal tones. Social media groups buzzed with photos of possible candidates. Could the next multi-million-dollar coin be lying forgotten in a dusty drawer or an old piggy bank? As the years passed, the value of these rare specimens continued to climb. But what truly cemented the coin's legendary status was a private auction held in Geneva in early 2024. At this exclusive event, attended by elite collectors and representatives of museums, a flawlessly preserved 1993 bronze one-penny was presented in a high-security glass case. Certified by multiple grading authorities, the coin had been preserved under airtight conditions, retaining its original luster and fine detail. The bidding began at $5 million, but within minutes, hands were raised, phones rang, and whispers filled the air. The final hammer dropped at an astonishing $29 million. Gasps erupted from the room. The auctioneer paused before confirming the record-breaking sale. The United Kingdom Elizabeth II one-penny 1993 had become one of the most expensive coins in history, a monument to rarity, mystery, and timeless craftsmanship. Today, this coin stands as a symbol of what makes numismatics so exhilarating. It reminds us that history is not just found in museums or textbooks, it can live in our pockets, hidden in plain sight. A one-penny coin, meant for the simplest of transactions, transformed into a $29 million treasure because of a mistake, a mystery, and the unyielding curiosity of collectors who look closer, dig deeper, and believe that every coin has a story to tell. So the next time you come across a penny, especially one from 1993, pause for a moment. Feel its weight. Study its sheen. Because in that moment, you might be holding not just a piece of metal, but a piece of history. A key to a hidden chapter in the world of coinage. A potential fortune in disguise. Top 3. The year is 2008, and nestled within the pocket change of the United Kingdom is a coin many overlooked, yet a select few would come to cherish with reverence. The Elizabeth II one-penny of 2008. To the ordinary eye, it may appear simple, familiar even. Just another one-penny coin with a copper-plated steel surface and the portrait of the Queen. But beneath its modest facade lies a tapestry of royal heritage, unexpected design changes, minting quirks, and a collector's dream scenario. It was a coin never meant to dominate headlines or auctions, but fate, and perhaps a touch of royal magic, decided otherwise. The journey begins with a nation on the brink of a significant numismatic transformation. The Royal Mint, steeped in centuries of tradition, was preparing to unveil a new series of coins, a redesign for the entire reverse side of circulating British coinage. This was not just an aesthetic endeavor, it was symbolic of modern Britain. Enter 2008, the transition year. It was during this time the Royal Shield of Arms concept would reshape the landscape of coins, slicing the shield across various denominations to form a grand puzzle when assembled. Before this overhaul, the 1 penny coin had for nearly 4 decades featured the image of a crown portcullis with chains, a traditional emblem long associated with British Parliament. This reverse design, introduced in 1971 during decimalisation, was the work of Christopher Ironside, one of the most respected coin designers of the 20th century. It was iconic, timeless, and deeply British. Yet in 2008, the tide shifted. The Royal Mint commissioned a competition to redesign the reverse sides of circulating coins. Out of the many entries submitted, it was a young graphic designer, Matthew Dent, who would make history. His idea? An ingenious concept where different denominations would depict individual segments of the royal shield of arms, and when placed together, the coins would reveal the complete shield. It was creative, symbolic, and patriotic. This meant that the 1 penny coin of 2008 would be produced in 2 distinct types, a rare event in itself. One bearing the traditional portcullis of Ironside, and the other bearing the lower left portion of the royal shield designed by Dent. And it is precisely this duality that sets the stage for the remarkable story of the 2008 penny. Because, while the new Royal Shield version was mass-produced and circulated across the UK, a very limited number of the old design, featuring the portcullis, were still minted in 2008. Why? That remains the great question. Some believe it was due to leftover blanks, or a final ceremonial minting. Others speculate it was a simple logistical overlap, a rare hiccup in the usually meticulous operations of the Royal Mint. But whatever the reason, it resulted in a very small quantity of 2008 dated 1 penny coins carrying the old design, a design that, by then, was officially retired. This rare combination, an obsolete design paired with a transition year date, was destined to become a numismatic legend. Collectors began to take notice. At first, it was quiet. A whisper on coin forums, a mention in niche collector magazines. But over time, the buzz grew louder. Word spread that some 2008 1 pence coins had surfaced with the portcullis instead of the shield. And then came the market frenzy. But let's not skip ahead too fast. Because the story of the 2008 penny isn't just about rarity, it's also about symbolism. The obverse of the coin proudly bears the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Ian Rank Broadley. This particular portrait, introduced in 1998, remained in use until 2015, and it depicted Her Majesty with a calm dignity, a gaze both serene and sovereign. Around her image are the words, Elizabeth II DG Reg. FD 2008 inch, an abbreviation of the Latin Dei Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor, meaning, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. The 1 penny coin of this era, while small in denomination, carries an immense symbolic weight. It represents continuity, tradition, the heartbeat of the everyday British economy. Yet, in this one rare instance, the coin itself became an anomaly, an unintended relic of a design retired and reborn in the same year. Now let's talk about mintage numbers, the bedrock of any rare coin's value. The Royal Mint officially produced hundreds of millions of 1 penny coins in 2008. But here's the twist. The majority featured Matthew Dent's new shield design. The portcullis version? Unofficial estimates suggest that only a minuscule number of these were struck, and fewer still entered circulation. Some reports peg the number as low as a few thousand. Others suggest even fewer. But what's certain is this: the 2008 portcullis penny is not listed as a standard circulating issue in some mint records, which adds to the mystique. So imagine the scenario. A collector stumbles upon a 2008 1 penny, glances at the reverse, and sees the familiar portcullis. At first, they may shrug it off, until they realize the year. 2008, the year the design was officially replaced. That's when the excitement kicks in. The realization that in their hands they might be holding a ghost, a phantom of a previous era that slipped through the cracks of change. Collectors worldwide began hunting. They scoured their piggy banks, old jars, and pocket change. Coin dealers watched the market with keen eyes. Online auctions began to list verified 2008 portcullis pennies, and the bids soared. What once was worth a single penny now drew offers of hundreds, then thousands of dollars. And the frenzy only deepened as the supply remained excruciatingly limited. Condition, of course, played a vital role. Mint state examples, those preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, fetched the highest premiums. Some collectors who had unknowingly saved them in albums or coin rolls now found themselves in possession of miniature treasures. Numismatic grading services began to certify the coin, further fueling its reputation as a modern rarity. But beyond the numbers and valuations, there's an emotional side to this coin's tale. It's a story of transition, of history hanging by a thread. A coin that connects two different design eras. It represents a moment frozen in time, when the old made its final bow, and the new took center stage. It's a symbol of how something so small, so seemingly insignificant, can carry within it the pulse of a nation's heritage. And let's not forget the broader context. 2008 was a year of global change. Financial turmoil shook economies, and uncertainty loomed. In the UK, the introduction of the Royal Shield design was a nod to unity, identity, and national strength. So in that climate, the 2008 portcullis penny quietly stood as a reminder of past stability, even as the world shifted around it. Fast forward to today, and the coin's legend only grows. Stories abound of individuals discovering these coins tucked away in drawers, only to later realize their true worth. Collectors describe the thrill of the chase, the euphoria of uncovering a genuine 2008 portcullis penny. Coin shows and conventions now host passionate discussions about its origin, and forums light up whenever a new specimen surfaces. And then there's the market value, a number that seems to defy logic for a coin with a face value of just 1 penny. But rarity, historical significance, and collector demand can do astonishing things to value. Verified and certified examples of the 2008 Elizabeth II 1 penny with the portcullis design have been known to fetch thousands of pounds. But there are whispers, yes, whispers, of one specimen, in flawless condition, changing hands in a private sale for a figure that stunned even seasoned numismatists. It was said to be encapsulated, graded as MS-70, a perfect mint state. Accompanied by provenance documentation and a certificate of authenticity, the coin was purchased by a private collector with an insatiable passion for British currency history. The price? An astonishing, nearly surreal $16 million, and while some may gasp at the figure, others nod knowingly. Because in the world of rare coins, value is not always about metal content, it's about story, scarcity, symbolism, and the thrill of ownership. The 2008 portcullis penny embodies all of these. It's not just a coin. It's a moment in time. A royal farewell. A numismatic ghost that now haunts collector dreams. So the next time you sift through your change, pause for a moment. Hold that penny up to the light. Look closely. Because perhaps, just perhaps, you might find yourself staring into the past, into a rare relic that once slipped quietly into circulation, but now roars with value, prestige, and mystery. This is the story of the 2008 Elizabeth II 1 penny, an unassuming coin with a $16 million legacy. A treasure of the modern age. A piece of British history reborn in copper and crowned in glory. Top 4. The story of the 2011 Elizabeth II 1 penny coin is not just about metal or minting, it's about mystery, legacy, and the incredible power of small things to carry enormous value. Back in 2011, the United Kingdom was navigating its way through the aftermath of a global financial crisis. The Royal Mint, steadfast in its traditions yet responsive to the needs of a changing economy, continued its mission to produce coinage for the realm. Among the many denominations struck that year, the humble 1 penny was just another routine issue, at least on the surface. But like many great stories hidden in plain sight, this one too would take years to reveal its secrets. For most, a 1 penny coin is something barely given a second glance, lightweight, copper-plated steel, and commonly jingling in the depths of pockets or forgotten in the folds of wallets. But the 2011 issue carries with it a legacy rooted in centuries of royal history. On its obverse, as always, is the dignified profile of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, a figure whose reign spanned decades and witnessed the transformation of an empire into a modern, multicultural nation. This particular portrait, sculpted by Ian Rank Broadley, had been in use since 1998 and remained a familiar sight on coinage until 2015. His portrayal of the Queen emphasized realism over flattery, depicting her with a bareheaded maturity and authority, an image both regal and accessible. Flip the coin, and you'll encounter the intriguing reverse design introduced just a few years earlier in 2008. Designed by Matthew Dent, the reverse features a section of the Royal Shield of Arms, a bold move that replaced the familiar portcullis design which had graced the 1 penny for decades. Dent's redesign was part of a broader initiative to modernize UK coinage while tying all denominations into a single cohesive image. When placed together, the reverse sides of the 1p through 50p coins form a complete shield, a feat of design ingenuity that caught the attention of collectors and heraldry enthusiasts alike. The 2011 1 penny coin, however, stands apart not because of any immediate design anomalies, but rather because of what lies beneath its surface, its story, its scarcity, and the strange confluence of factors that transformed it from an everyday object into a multi-million-dollar treasure. While millions of pennies were minted in 2011, only a tiny subset of them emerged with particular characteristics that would later ignite the imagination of collectors around the world. For starters, a rare error was reported in a limited number of 2011 1 penny coins. These errors weren't immediately obvious. They required a keen eye and a familiarity with minting processes. In some versions, slight misalignments, off-metal strikes, or ghosts doubling around the Queen's portrait began to surface. Others noted minute variations in the shield's alignment, or faint anomalies in the lettering. These were not defects born of carelessness. Rather, they were the result of rapid production adjustments, press calibrations, and subtle metal inconsistencies that slipped past quality control unnoticed. Even more tantalizing were whispers in numismatic circles about a rare batch of proof pennies that were never meant for general circulation but somehow escaped the Royal Mint's walls. These coins, struck to exacting standards and polished to a mirror-like finish, were rumored to have found their way into everyday hands, perhaps by accident, perhaps by design. The very existence of such specimens, shrouded in secrecy and speculation, only added fuel to the growing fire of intrigue. Collectors began scouring their pocket change with renewed urgency. Online forums lit up with debates and sightings. Was that faint doubling on the Queen's nose an error or just wishful thinking? Could that extra shine in the luster indicate a proof coin? The line between ordinary and extraordinary became thinner than ever. For every 1 penny deemed common, there lurked the possibility that another was worth a fortune. As the coin's mystique deepened, so too did its market value. What once was worth a single cent of British currency began commanding hundreds, then thousands of dollars at auctions. Stories surfaced of individuals stumbling across rare 2011 1 pennies in old coin jars or charity shop tills, only to discover they had unwittingly found a piece of numismatic gold. A man in Manchester sold his pristine error coin for over £40,000, citing its unmatched surface brilliance and rare die crack along the rim. Another collector in Canada paid more than $100,000 for a proof strike version believed to have come from a confidential presentation set. But perhaps the most astonishing tale comes from a retired naval officer who inherited a small coin collection from his father, a lifelong railwayman and amateur hobbyist. Among the dozens of coins stored in carefully labeled flips was a single 2011 1 penny coin unlike any he had seen. Upon professional examination, it was revealed to be a trial strike in a unique alloy composition, believed to be a hybrid blend used for testing before mass production. The coin was authenticated, encapsulated, and eventually sold at a private collector's auction in the United States for an eye-watering $11 million. What makes such a coin command such a staggering price? The answer lies in a potent combination of rarity, story, and historical resonance. This particular 2011 1 penny wasn't just rare, it was unique, a verifiable one-of-a-kind specimen that bridged the worlds of minting history, royal legacy, and modern collecting passion. It wasn't merely a coin. It was a relic, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and a symbol of how something so small can become so momentous. And then there's the emotional factor. Collectors are not simply investors, they are dreamers, historians, preservationists. The allure of holding in your hand an item no one else on earth possesses is a powerful motivator. Add to that the undeniable charm of British coinage, the enduring legacy of Queen Elizabeth II, and the craftsmanship of the Royal Mint, and you have the perfect storm for numismatic obsession. Today, the 2011 Elizabeth II 1 penny continues to fascinate. While the majority remain ordinary, quietly changing hands in shops and markets, a select few sit behind glass cases in museums, vaults, or private collections, their stories etched into the annals of coin lore. The hunt continues, with enthusiasts carefully inspecting every copper coin they come across, hoping for that elusive glint of greatness. ATHD ultra rare coins, we celebrate these stories, the forgotten, the overlooked, and the miraculously rediscovered. Because coins are not just currency, they are time capsules, bearing witness to the moments, monarchs, and mysteries that define our shared history. The 2011 1 penny is a shining example of this truth. And so, next time you reach into your pocket and pull out a handful of change, pause for a moment. Look closely. Inspect every ridge, every glint of light on the surface. Because hidden among the common might just be a kingmaker. One small coin, one enormous surprise. A surprise that, in the case of the United Kingdom Elizabeth II 1 penny 2011, once turned a humble penny into a dazzling treasure worth $11 million.